had a coffee earlier, but I procrastinated this video for so long that I finished that coffee, so now we're drinking water. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hi, my name is Liz and today we are gonna do my June reading wrap up. I read 10 books this month. I am very happy with the books I read. I had a couple that I was really looking forward to reading, and there were a few that were kind of just meh. I didn't have any like horrible books, but I also didn't have any like super great 5 stars, sadly. But I still want to talk about those books because most of them were on my summer TBR and I've been looking forward to them. So without further ado, let's get into the video. First up this month, we have The Setup by Lizzie Dent. This book follows our main character who she ends up accidentally pretending to be a fortune teller. This guy walks in and she's reading his fortune, and when she sees him, it's kind of love at first sight. She kind of does this crazy thing where she tells him, in 3 months, you are going to go to this bar named this, and you are going to run into the love of your life. Her name is this, and insert her name here. This whole book is just our main character trying to turn herself into the perfect woman within these 3 months. She's trying to change her personality, change her style, change her hair, change her job, change everything about herself to make herself feel like she's the perfect woman for this guy. Now, meanwhile, while she's doing all of this, she has this flatmate who kind of changes her idea on what true love is, if love at first sight is even real, and he really challenges her and also brings out the better version of her. It was a very fun read. It was very cute. I ended up giving this book about 3 stars. It was just kind of like a decent romance story. I wasn't like crazy about the romance. I did like our male main character. I really enjoyed him and just how he acted towards our main character. I feel like he just was such a realist, but also you could tell he actually cared for her and was trying to be honest with her. However, our main character did kind of annoy me with just her whole back and forth, trying to become something she's not. Didn't love that, but it was still a fun summary read. Next up, we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. I ended up giving this book 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It kind of opened my eyes to why everyone is obsessed with Elsie Silver's writing. I loved the writing in this book, and I definitely want to continue reading the rest in the series. This book follows our main character. Her name is Summer. Her father is an agent and she works for his company, and when this guy named Rhett, who is a famous bull rider, ends up kind of trashes his image by accident, she is then sent to babysit him and kind of help him get his reputation back in order. It's a cowboy romance, which I haven't really read that many cowboy romances, but honestly, I'm so glad that I read this in the summertime because it gave me all the summer vibes that I was looking for. I've been going to a lot of country concerts this summer so far. Cowboy romances, it gets the job done. The only reason why I didn't rate this book higher was just because their romance did center more on the physical rather than the emotional side of things. Still had a lot of swoony parts that I just honestly just melted when I was reading them. I will definitely continue reading this series. Next up, we have A Sea of Blood and Sapphire by Florence Gray. This is a Little Mermaid retelling. However, it's kind of like the darker version of Little Mermaid. Mermaids, they're called sirens instead. They murder a lot of men at sea. They sing and they lure these sailors into the ocean where they then eat them, kill them. It was a little bit darker than what I thought. However, it was still a decent story. I ended up rating this 3.25 stars. The only reason why I didn't rate it higher was because I felt like it was a little confusing while I was reading. The time period definitely felt like Little Mermaid timing. However, it had a lot of modern day language, which I felt kind of contradicted it. Like it just didn't feel like it was set in the same time period when it was talking and using modern day curse words and just slang. And I don't know, that kind of threw me off a little bit. However, the romance was fun. I did feel like the ending was a little bit rushed. Next up, we have The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I have had this book for over a year now, and I'm so incredibly glad that I finally read this book. I don't know why it took me so long to read, but honestly, I'm so glad that I finally read it. I ended up giving this book 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed this story and the characters in it. This story follows our main character, who is a romance author. She's kind of having a little bit of writer's block and kind of at a point in her life where she's trying to figure out what she wants and who she wants and that kind of thing. point, she ends up getting this opportunity to go onto a reality TV show, and she will be the main girl, kind of like Bachelorette. Then she gets to choose all these guys who are like the perfect book boyfriends. It kind of follows like all the different book tropes for boyfriends. It's honestly so funny. If you love reading romance, it literally felt like you were just in a story within a story. Like, it was so fun. I really, really loved our main character. Her name's Fizzy. She's so bubbly and fun. Her personality was amazing. Our main guy, he is the producer of this reality TV show. It was really fun getting to see them start with a friendship, but then slowly morph into more, and also her battling her feelings with other people who were on the show. And it was just an all-around great read. Definitely recommend this book. Next up, we have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I ended up buying this on a whim. I went to the store and I saw this and a couple other new releases that I was really wanting to pick up. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. Definitely wasn't my all-time favorite Ali Hazelwood book. However, I still enjoyed the story. I still enjoyed her writing. I will always read the books that she writes just because I love her writing. It's very engaging and I feel like it's so fast-paced, and I love that she writes about women in STEM. Our main character is a woman in STEM. Basically what happens is she goes on a dating app and goes on a date with this guy, and she knows that she has this intense connection with this guy. And then the next day she comes to work. Turns out her company that she works for is now being bought by a bigger company, and they are kind of taking over, and the guy she was on a date with is one of the people who bought her company. So it kind of is a little bit of an enemies to lovers romance, a little bit, just because he's like the bad guy in her eyes. There's a lot of just like them trying to figure out how they're gonna work near each other, but also fighting this insane attraction to each other. I did really enjoy the characters in this book. I loved our main character Eli. You could tell he really knew our main character Rue, and he showed how much he cared about her and really saw her as a person. It was also a dual point of view, which I really enjoyed. This is definitely Ali Hazelwood's spiciest book that she has written. If you enjoy spicier books, this is the book for you. Next up, I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. Yes, I bought Flawless for the summer, and I loved that world so much that I went and I bought Heartless because I could not wait to read the next one. This one follows our main character, who is actually the best friend of the main character in Flawless. She is nannying for the brother of the main guy in the first book. The guy in this book, he is a single father raising his son, who I think is like 5 or 6, and she is coming to nanny for them for the summer. I loved this book. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I loved it even more than Flawless. I really, really enjoyed the scenes with our main character and the little boy. It was just so sweet and genuine, and just, I love kids, and getting to see her relationship with him and friendship that she built with him was just so beautiful and so cute to read about. Also, the romance was great. I really enjoyed getting to see our main guy kind of work through some past trauma when it comes to relationships and women, getting to open his heart up a little bit more. Our main character is also amazing. She was so fun, and you better believe I will be going and buying the 3rd book very, very soon. Next up, we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I finally read this. I ended up only giving this book 3.5 stars. Not that that's bad. It was still a decent fantasy book. However, I do have some just things that kind of bothered me when I was reading it. This is a Norse-inspired fantasy, which kind of confused me at first. Basically, the best way that I can describe this is think Vikings and also think Greek mythology, kind of like mixed together. I really liked getting to read a different type of fantasy world than I was used to. However, I was very confused in some scenes. I feel like some of the action scenes and some of the trials that our main character was going through didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I don't know if it's just because there wasn't enough detail or if it just kind of like went right over my head. I'm sure other people probably understood it better than I did, and that's why I didn't rate it as high as I could have. It does follow our main character, who is what is known as a shield maiden. So that means she has a drop of goddess blood in her, and her goddess blood gives her the ability to create an impenetrable shield. So she is very useful for battles, so she's kind of sought after. However, she has always kept her abilities hidden. Our kind of like the chief of her area discovers her ability and then forces her to marry him. However, she in turn has feelings for his son, so that was a little weird. If you think that's gonna weird you out because it's like she's married to the father but she likes the son, don't let it weird you out. She's the same age as the son, and also her and the father don't have any sexual anything. It's mainly the marriage is just for show, so don't let that freak you out. I will say, when I first read that in the cover, I kind of was like, ooh, it sounds a little icky. I did really, really enjoy the romance in it. It was very fun, very cute. However, I will say the politics kind of fell a little flat for me, along with just being confused overall about the fantasy world. I will still be reading the next book. This, I believe, is going to be a series. Next up, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is one of the books that my friend Alex picked out for me when I did my video back in April, I believe. I had 3 of my friends go to Barnes & Noble with me and choose a book for me to read. So this was the sci-fi book that was chosen for me. All I'm going to say is our main character wakes up in space, no memory, has no clue what he's doing there. And it's being turned into a movie. So you better believe I will be going and watching that movie. I am in the middle of a reading vlog at the moment, reading those 3 books that my friends picked out for me. I'm not done with the 3rd book. I have finished 2 of the books though. Those 2 books will be in this wrap up. The 3rd one though will be in next month's wrap up. If you are wanting my honest opinions on this book, I would go watch that video if I were you. But I will say my rating, and my rating for this book is 4.25 stars. And after that book, I did read Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. This was another book my friend Jordan picked out for me in that same reading video. Once again, this will be in the reading vlog with all my thoughts on it. I will say that my rating though, and this is an office place romance between a boss and his assistant. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. And the last book that I read this month is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I was really looking forward to this book, mainly because of the cover, because it looks very beachy. I ended up bringing this with me on a trip to Gulf Shores with some of my friends, and I'm glad I brought it because it was a very cute, fun, cheesy romance, very fast paced. However, I will say this was not like anything groundbreaking. It was very, very cheesy. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was still a fun romance. I really enjoyed getting to see hints of characters from The Cheat Sheet, which is by the same author, and it's set in the same world, so you did get some glimpses of some of those same characters, which I really, really loved. I also really loved the main guy, him and his friend, his other football player friendships were so cute to read about. Those were my favorite chapters to read, was when they were all interacting. It took way too long for our main characters to admit their feelings for each other, because you get both their perspectives and they both are crazy for each other. However, neither of them will finally tell the other how they feel, which really was annoying because like, communicate. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this gave you some book recommendations, and hopefully this just gave you some ideas of books to read this summer. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.